Hello, first time viewers and subscribers. Welcome to the Kenny Hack. Doing something a little different tonight. Kind of threw a old project out into the forums, and a lot of people seem to really like it. It was something kind of different. Don't know if a lot of people hadn't seen anything like this even done as craft work. It's a pretty common craft. It's called book folding. Uh, Basically, you mark a template onto the inside of the book and you fold all the pages down and it creates an image on the outside edge of the book. And normally you have to build a template. Like for if you had this image and you wanted to do like 200-page book, you'd have to put 200 lines across this image and have a measuring scale on the side and measure each line. Say, okay, that marks at 100. That's 120 millimeters, 125 millimeters. And you do that all the way across the 200 different lines to make up that image. And you'd build a template of everywhere this pattern crossed one of them vertical lines. And then you'd have to fold that and mark that across your book on every page. And it takes a long time. It takes several hours if you want to build your own template. And then it takes several more hours of taking that template, marking it in the book, on like every page you want to do. You can look up other videos on book folding, and it'll show you a lot of different methods of how to fold it, different looks of you first can fold the front edge over, take scissors and cut the page down and fold it straight back, or you can fold the edges at 45s. I'm not going to go all into that. This is basically how to use your laser to mark the book. It just makes the process a lot easier. And you can do a lot bigger books since you're not spending so much time measuring and you're just folding. It's easier to do a lot bigger books. Like normally you want to do around a 250 to 300 page book, and that's kind of like a general rule of where you the size of book you need. But if you want to do really intricate, detailed books, then it's going to take more pages. But the larger the book is and the more folded pages, the more the book's going to open up and kind of create a panoramic view to it. It's not going to stay flat. So, I mean, if you get too big a book, it can kind of open, when you fold the pages over, it'll make it look too big. But like I said, this is just a quick how-to. I had to kind of, for you guys that are following, you know, I just got moved into this new fume hood. Had to build a little template or jig to elevate my Ortur up, and figured I could use it for doing these books. I can always prop it up to whatever height I need. I just got it held in there with some C-clamps, kind of holding the book shut. You want it tight, but not super tight. You know, the pages can be ruffled a little bit. Like if you want to open up the book, just a little couple millimeters more, just so it's kind of loose. And that way you're not trying to crunch the image down so much. And I'm nowhere near the 35 millimeters. I'm still reaching quite a ways, but we're just burning in a line. So I'm hoping it works just fine. Like I said, this is kind of the first try with this setup. So all I did was bring in the image, trace it in Lightburn. I've already got the center of the book marked. So how I do that? Well, first of all, like this is like your standard picture as it gets brought in and it's traced. You're going to want to set whatever your height you want. Like I set it to 7 inches. This is a 9-inch tall book, and so I want about 1 inch of clearance on the top and the bottom. And then you want to unlock the aspect ratio, and I'm going to take the width down to 1.25, and it's going to really scrunch up the image. But now that image is going to fit on my book. So if I do the, sorry if I get off camera here, I'm just hitting the shift frame button, and you can see The laser's tracing around the inside of the book. You want to make sure you're a little bit off the edge. Let's hit that again. You want to make sure you're staying off the edge, like at least 20-30 pages, hopefully. Give it a little bit of room so you're not right up to the edge of the last page. It just looks better when it's folded. So I'm going to give this a try. I set the speed, just doing a line, set it to 50 inches per minute, which would be like 1200 millimeters or something like that. Like I said, I'm running in inches to millimeters. I haven't looked to see if after Lightburn's last update, if they changed anything at the millimeter settings to where it's lines per millimeter instead of DPI, but right now I'm still in inches per minute. So we're going to go with that. It's only going to take like a minute for it to cut this image. Got to watch it, make sure it's burning dark enough, or if it's too dark, I might stop it real quick and we'll reset from there and try a different power setting if it needs it. Hopefully it does okay. It just needs to burn a decent black line in someplace to mark. Yeah, that's not burning quite dark enough. It's getting a couple edges in there. But let's try turning up the power here. Hold on. So you can see how well it burned in, and oddly enough, like across the top on the horizontals where you'd think it would burn the best, it was actually the lightest, because on the x-axis is where the laser's the weakest on these Ortur 20/5.5 watt lasers. It kind of forms a dash focus, and when it's running on the x-axis, it's actually a little bit wider of a bead than when it's on the x-axis. So the y-axis is kind of your power direction. It's kind of more focused and a narrower beam than on the x-axis. That's another reason if you watch me engrave, I'm usually cutting on the y-axis, just because it is a more powerful focus and a narrower focus than the x-axis. So kind of across the bottom edge, it didn't quite mark, but I can go in with a pencil or a pen and kind of fill in any of the gaps. So now it's going to be down to folding this book up, and that's probably, for a book this size, it's a lot of pages. I probably got about 300 to 350 pages to fold. But that right there is probably about, depending on how good you are at measuring pages and going through them, that's probably 5 to 10 hours worth of work. Somebody I've only done a few of these books, so I'm not a very good estimator of how long it takes to really fold these up. But I can tell you that 5 minutes it took me to set this up under the laser and burn that in, that probably saved a good 10 plus hours worth of work on this one book of making the template and marking each page. So if you're more just in it for the fun and you're not looking for super perfection, this will definitely save some time. If you look up book folding crafts and pictures on the internet, you can see how some people can make very intricate book foldings, and that's probably, if you're going super intricate, this probably isn't the method to use. It's just not going to be quite as precise, I don't think. But we'll kind of skip back to kind of as I'm folding. I'll try to give some hints on what I'm doing. Now I'm doing it, and we'll see what the final project looks like. So you can see I've gone in, and like all the horizontal lines that kind of didn't get lasered in very well. So I just went in with a pencil Kind of gave myself a mark just so I can remember to fold the page on them verticals. This is a pretty square pattern. Should be pretty easy to kind of keep a straight line. You can see the lasering smudges pretty easy, so you kind of got to be careful. And I actually flipped on it. It starts the first fold on about page 47 and goes to about page 610. So this is going to be about a 550 page fold. It's going to be a big one. That's a lot of pages to fold in book folding, at least as far as what I've ever done. But this is a pretty wide pattern, so I needed a big book. And if you've watched my channel, you can pretty well tell I'm a Star Wars junkie. So a lot of the projects I do for fun, if I'm just going to have them sitting around for just something fun, I'll add them to the Star Wars collection stuff. So sorry if I get kind of redundant here with the Star Wars theme stuff, but like I said, if it's just a project for something to fun and to try out, it's something I can always just throw in my collection and keep for myself. So it's kind of why I use Star Wars. So now I'll kind of get to show you a few folding pages. We'll go from there. So here's the first page folded. I came right up to right where the pattern started. And you're going to fold them I'm doing this book at a 45 fold. So you just come right up to the edge of the design. And that's where you fold your page over and you make a 45. You can use the lettering to kind of keep your edge going at a 90, long as you're kind of squared up to the writing and paralleling that with that edge. That's going to keep this edge at close enough to a 45 that they don't need to be 100% perfect. Even if they're a little bit off, when you stack all the pages together, they'll kind of blend together. And there's usually such a subtle transition from design to design that it doesn't, like, see, this top one's a little bit off, but it's really not going to be noticeable. So, like, I'm going to alternate through the pattern. So you start at the top, you'll do a fold, and then if the next place it crosses the pattern, you go like so. The next page I'll start on the W, and I'll do the first section of W, and then the next page I'll jump back up here on the S and do the next fold on the S, and then I'll jump back onto the W, do the next fold on the W, and then back to the S, and just alternate every page. And like if you got places where the pattern crosses 3 times, just go from one page to the second page to the third page and then back to the top. So you just keep repeating every page as it cuts through the patterns, and just keep moving down one spot every page and then back to the top and keep moving across. And that's really all there is to it. It's more of just a matter of time of doing each page. But normally I'd have had like a crib sheet that would have had like page 1 go to 50 millimeters off the edge and 65 millimeters off the edge, and you'd make a little mark on them, measured them out, then fold to that mark, and then you'd have to go to the second page, and that would have been okay. Go to 70 and 75, make a mark, and then that'd be the first fold of the W. And so you'd had to mark each page, and so that took as much time marking each page as it does folding. And it's kind of the unfun part of this craft. You know, the fun part is folding the images and just watching it, you know, materialize as you're folding. To me, that's the fun part of this craft. And you know, the measuring stuff is kind of tedious and kind of the boring part of it. You know, I'd usually mark 5 or 10 pages, fold them 5 or 10, and then, you know, mark another 5 or 10, then fold them, you know, and you kind of only get some satisfaction of folding the pages and seeing how it's coming out. But I'll do a few more pages, kind of show along as I go. So here's where I'm at. Probably haven't even been folding an hour. You can see how far I've come. Kind of when I get to pages like this, where if I folded it like I'm folding all of them to the left side normally, but when you get a page like this that's hanging out on its own and kind of on a round curve, I think it looks better to fold it to the other side on the first pass, and then when you get to the next time you come back, fold them back to the left, and it kind of helps round out that floating edge. And then that way you don't have a little tab just hanging out on its own. It all stays folded to the inside. So other than that, it's just going to be working the way across. This one is actually a pretty simple pattern. Everything's nice and square. You can see the lines are staying nice and straight for not having to measure anything. And that's what makes it really simple. It's just another little fun craft to do. These make really good gifts. I've seen a lot of religious-based craft ones like this, Christmas-themed ones, pet themes. Like I said, they make really good gifts. They do take a little bit of more of your personal time than laser work, so it's the laser takes a lot of the time out of it. But you know, and I think you could, if you made up a bunch of these books with like a certain look that you thought would sell, and if you just put on the stencil and sold it as a do-it-yourself item, you know, you probably can get, I try to find all these books at yard sales, the dollar bin from used bookstores. They're all, you want to use hardback covers. I don't know what this one's even about. I just got it because it was a good sized book and it was cheap. I'm pretty sure I paid less than $1 for it at a yard sale. So that's what I go scrounging around for. I got a stack of about 20 books I can use right now. Like I said, if you even made these just and put the stencil on there and sold them as that, and whoever buys them can do all the page folding for their own craft, and that would save you a lot of your personal time. And even if you made them for $1 or bought the book for $1, it takes about 2 minutes of laser time. If you're really set up to do this and burned out, you know, did like 20 books with the same pattern and put all them patterns up for sale, it'd be a very good money maker. You know, if you sold them for $20, even just as a do-it-yourself kit. Very simple to do, and it, once you had your numbers dialed in, like I said, I probably needed a little more power. My horizontal lines didn't get put in very good, but you can see where the pencil marks are at. I'm able to keep pretty nice straight lines. That's good enough, and I could see enough of where the laser burnt in to fill in the pattern. So we'll jump to the end. I'll maybe scrounge out some of my other old books and show you some different methods I've done. But that's just kind of where I'm at right now. Get back to you later. So here I am, probably only a couple hours maybe into folding, and I'm almost, probably not almost, just short of halfway done. Probably really in the interest of just getting this video put out tonight. Probably just gonna show it right there. You can kind of see how it's gonna turn out. On the right is one I did the traditional method of, but this one, instead of folding, it's cut. You first go through and fold all the pages down about 1 inch, and then you'd come back, and normally you would mark each page on a cut line, and then you take a pair of scissors and cut it halfway down your fold, and then fold them cuts back to your original fold line. So whatever depth you fold the first time, you can see there where all the first pages were folded back. And then you cut it and fold that piece in to kind of make a embossed image. And I could have did this with the laser too if I'd have just folded all the first pages in and then scrunched the book up as tight as I could get it, maybe get a rubber band wrapped around it so it held it really tight. Even though that surface isn't perfectly level, I could have got it close enough to where I could have burned the image around it probably still, and use this method instead of marking each page, because this is a lot quicker. For super detailed projects, some of the finer details might get lost in the page, in the laser markings. Probably just depends on your skill level at folding books. If you've got a pretty good knack for it, you kind of know where folds need to go to fill in the patterns, and how far to space out every page to make your straight lines come out looking pretty good. But I think just for how to maybe use a laser, like I said, there's a lot of other videos on how to fold books that'll probably be more informative on how to do the folding process. This was kind of more of how to use a laser to get by using, not using one of the pre-made templates and measuring every page. That you can prop these things up under your laser, draw a quick line image over it, compress down, even down to, doing a pre-folded book like that would actually probably be easier, because the book's going to already be opened up a lot more than trying to burn it into a 1-inch wide book, where it's going to get really compressed down, and trying to get some of them finer internal folds done. I'm not having too much problem. You can see the W turned out pretty good, for not having any template to go with. And the further back you get, kind of the better they look. It's easier to see. So, like I said, I put an old project out in the forums, and everybody seemed to really like it. And a lot of people some people were asking me how to, tell them how to do it. And I said I'd throw out a quick video. So that's kind of it. Hope it kind of another fun project to do. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next video.